So this is how it begins, not with a flagrant foul or a buzzer beater, but with a microphone, a t-shirt, and a sentence that echoed across the league like a bomb going off in a silent room. Kelsey Plum, All-Star guard and WNBA veteran, stepped in front of the media and lobbed what many are calling the pettiest, most calculated dig the league has seen in years. It wasn't loud, it wasn't vulgar, it was subtle, and that's what made it so lethal. 0 members of Team Clark were present. Just like that, Caitlin Clark was publicly shamed for something she wasn't even there to defend. And the crowd knew what it was. A trap, a shot disguised as leadership, a microphone used like a dagger. The phrase immediately caught fire. Social media lit up, sports blogs hit publish, and YouTube thumbnails were already in production. People weren't just talking about the All-Star game anymore. They were dissecting a moment of high school level pettiness playing out on the league's biggest weekend. And make no mistake, this wasn't a simple observation. Kelsey didn't say some players weren't present. She said 0 members of Team Clark, as in she wasn't just making a point. She was pointing fingers at the one woman who wasn't there to clap back in real time. And that's where it all starts to unravel. Because the deeper you go, the clearer it becomes that this wasn't about a meeting. It wasn't about a protest or a shirt. It was about spotlight, about envy, about a league that's finally seeing a global boom, and one woman who's become the face of it all. Caitlin Clark didn't ask to be the WNBA's golden goose. She didn't campaign for it. She earned it with record-breaking college numbers, massive crowds, and endorsement deals that made her a brand before she ever dribbled a WNBA ball. And that's made her a target. But here's the part that nobody expected. Clark never swung back. She didn't take to Twitter. She didn't rant in interviews. She didn't throw subliminals or call out Plum by name. Instead, she did what true stars do when they're being hated on at the top. They flex in silence. And oh, did she flex? Just days after the so-called shade heard round the league, Caitlin Clark appeared front and center in a Nike campaign that plastered her face on screens across the globe. The timing? Impeccable. The message? Unmistakable. You tried to drag me, now watch me soar. But it wasn't over yet. The plot twisted even further when Kelsey Plum, ironically an Under Armour athlete, attended that very same Nike event. That's right, the woman who took a jab at Clark ended up smiling at a photo shoot for brand that's currently building Clark into a global icon. And then came the Instagram comment. Subtle, chill, cold. Caitlin slid into Plum's photo and wrote, "Thank you for the Nike ad." 6 words. No anger, no drama. Just a poetic knockout punch that sent the internet spiraling. Within hours, the comment had thousands of likes. Reactions poured in. Fans called it the cleanest clapback in sports history. And they weren't wrong, because Clark didn't say anything malicious. She just highlighted the absurdity, the irony, the fact that while Kelsey Plum was trying to dim her shine, she accidentally helped market her even harder. It wasn't a fight. It was a masterclass. And Caitlin Clark didn't even have to raise her voice. She let the numbers speak. She let the silence echo. She let her presence dominate. Meanwhile, the damage to Kelsey Plum's image was undeniable. What was meant to be a show of unity during the All-Star game instantly turned into a moment of division. Cameras caught Sabrina Ionescu sitting beside Plum as she made the comment, her face stiff, her eyes awkwardly avoiding the crowd, her posture screaming discomfort. She didn't laugh. She didn't nod. She didn't co-sign. And that silence, that was louder than anything anyone could have said, because even her peers knew a line had been crossed. And then the legend started speaking out. Stacey King, a 3-time NBA champ, didn't mince words. "Why are you throwing shade at the one person helping y'all get paid?" Charles Barkley chimed in. Sports analysts from every network weighed in. And the sentiment was unanimous. Kelsey Plum had made herself look petty, not powerful. The target of her comment wasn't a rookie. It was a literal economic engine of the league. And in trying to shame her, Plum accidentally exposed herself, and a deeper jealousy brewing behind closed doors. Because this wasn't just one moment. It was a symptom, a crack in the WNBA's polished veneer. Players who've been grinding in the league for years are now watching a rookie outshine them in every category. Ratings, revenue, headlines, and fanfare. And instead of embracing her success, some are resisting it. You can hear it in the interviews. You can feel it in the locker rooms. The shade isn't always direct, but it's there. And Kelsey Plum's comment became the loudest signal, yet that there's a divide between old guard and new era. But here's the thing. Caitlin Clark didn't beg for the spotlight. She didn't create the marketing campaigns. She didn't write the headlines. All she did was play her game, break records, stay humble, and show up night after night, getting knocked down, flagged, and foul harder than anyone else. She took the hits, smiled through the bruises, and never once complained to media. And that's why fans love her. That's why brands invest in her. That's why she can destroy someone without saying a word. Because everything she represents flies in the face of the jealousy surrounding her. Even more ironic, Kelsey Plum's attempt to isolate Clark has only amplified her power. The backlash wasn't just limited to Twitter trolls or angry fans. NBA players, sports journalists, and even casual viewers stood up in her defense. It wasn't because she asked them to. It's because people can smell authenticity, and they can spot bitterness from a mile away. And right now, Kelsey Plum is swimming in a pool of it. Meanwhile, Caitlin's just getting started, setting the tone for a league she's already transforming. And the league knows it. You can feel the shift. Expansion fees that used to hover around $50 million have now soared to $250 million, all since Caitlin arrived. Jersey sales up 500%. Attendance breaking records. Broadcast numbers surpassing MLB and NHL games. Every metric that matters has Caitlin's fingerprints on it. She's not just a rookie, she's a revolution. And every time someone tries to minimize her, they only end up magnifying her impact. And the irony is breathtaking, because in a league that has begged for visibility for decades, in a sport that has fought tooth and nail for media attention, they finally have someone who can deliver, and some of their own are trying to mute her. Caitlin Clark didn't just walk into the WNBA. She stormed in with a fan base, a media frenzy, and a global presence that most players only dream of. She didn't steal the spotlight, she became the spotlight. And now, rather than rally around her, a few are trying to turn the light off. But here's the truth, that switch isn't in their hands anymore. When Clark entered the WNBA, she didn't just bring talent, she brought change. And change is uncomfortable, especially for those who thought they had the game figured out. For years, the WNBA operated on a smaller scale, loyal, tight-knit, but underexposed. Suddenly, here comes a 22-year-old who has corporate America on speed dial, who draws sellout crowds on the road, and who has a kind of crossover appeal that makes even non-basketball fans tune in. That kind of star power isn't just rare, it's disruptive, and disruption doesn't make everyone cheer. Kelsey Plum may have thought her comment was clever, a quick quip, a way to put Clark in her place without saying her name. But in reality, she ended up shining a massive spotlight on herself, and not in the way she intended. Instead of making Caitlin look selfish, she made herself look insecure. And the worst part, the entire league had to watch it unfold in real time. The press conference, the awkward glances, the online fallout. It was like watching someone light a match in a room filled with gasoline, then act surprised when the flames caught their own uniform. But this isn't just about ego, it's about control. For decades, the WNBA has operated on a culture of collectivism. Team first, unity, equality. And that's admirable until it becomes a weapon. Until the idea of team unity is used to silence the individual. Until pay us what you owe us becomes less about progress and more about gatekeeping. Caitlin Clark didn't disrupt unity. She highlighted its limits. She exposed a system that only celebrates stars as long as they don't outshine everyone else. And the people watching, they saw it, loud and clear. Fans who just started watching the WNBA because of Clark were confused. Why are veteran players taking shots at the rookie who's saving the league's bottom line? Why would anyone drag the player who's responsible for the historic TV ratings, the sold-out arenas, and the six-figure merch spikes? Why would a movement built on empowerment suddenly become so eager to tear someone down? That's the kind of cognitive dissonance you can't explain away. The more people looked into the drama, the worse it looked for Plum. Because while Clark was quietly building an empire, others were counting the bricks in jealousy. She didn't attend the All-Star meeting? That's fair. She wasn't playing in the game. She was recovering. She was home. And yet her absence became a storyline, crafted not by critics or execs, but by a peer. That's not leadership. That's sabotage. And the public saw it for what it was. And then came the Nike moment, the digital dagger. The kind of comeback that doesn't require volume, just timing. When Caitlyn commented on Plum's photo, "Thank you for the Nike ad," it wasn't petty, it was poetic. It was the moment everyone realized Caitlyn wasn't just unbothered, she was unbeatable. She didn't need to scream to be heard. She didn't need to clap back to win. She simply existed, and her existence, her gravity, her impact, it did the heavy lifting for her. Meanwhile, the headlines kept rolling, and they weren't about Kelsey Plum's game. They weren't about her stats or her leadership. They were about the comment, the shade, the fallout, the misstep. One tweet even went viral saying, "Kelsey Plum got more coverage from dissing Clark than she did from her entire All-Star performance." Brutal, but accurate. And while that may sound harsh, it highlights the growing disparity in how attention functions in today's WNBA. You can be great, but if you target the league's biggest star, you better come correct. And that's the lesson here. Caitlin Clark didn't just outplay Kelsey Plum on the court, she outclassed her off it. She handled the controversy like a veteran, like someone who spent her life being underestimated, targeted, challenged, and yet she never cracked, never gave them the meltdown they wanted. Instead, she delivered something far more dangerous to her critics. Success. Undeniable, measurable, bankable success. What's wild is that Clark never asked for this role. She didn't campaign to be the league's face. She didn't hold press conferences demanding attention. She just showed up, played ball, signed some deals, and let the work speak for itself. And yet, here we are, watching other players twist themselves into knots trying to drag her down for doing exactly what the league has begged stars to do for decades, generate buzz. And the fans? They've made their choice. Look at the comment sections, the replies, the hashtags. They're not riding with shade. They're riding with substance, with class, with someone who, despite the endless scrutiny, keeps showing up and showing out. They're not here for locker room politics. They're here for greatness. And right now, Caitlin Clark is delivering it in spades. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, the outcome is crystal clear. Kelsey Plum's shot missed badly. It didn't expose Clark. It exposed a culture of quiet resentment. It didn't shrink Clark's platform. It expanded it. And it didn't make Plum look like a leader. It made her look like a cautionary tale. The league wants progress? Then it better stop punishing the people bringing it. Because Caitlin Clark isn't just a player. She's a mirror, a reflection of everything the WNBA says it wants to be: popular, profitable, powerful. And if that's uncomfortable for some, then maybe the league isn't as ready for success as it thought. But one thing's certain, Caitlin Clark isn't going anywhere. She's not shrinking. She's not apologizing. She's not stepping aside to make others feel bigger. She's rising. And the real question now, who's ready to rise with her, and who's about to get left in the dust? That's the power of silent revenge, of staying composed while others unravel. And Caitlin Clark didn't have to stoop to Kelsey Plum's level to win. She didn't have to bark back. She didn't have to clap. All she had to do was keep being Caitlin Clark, the player that packs arenas, the athlete that turns sneaker launches into cultural moments, the rookie whose very existence forced an entire league to reckon with what it could become. It embraced her instead of trying to contain her. And that's the uncomfortable truth that this whole incident has exposed. There's an agenda, spoken or not, that's trying to shrink Caitlin's spotlight. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's pride. Maybe it's the idea that one person shouldn't rise so fast. But here's the twist. You can't stop what's already moving mountains. You can't silence a wave that's already crashing. And the more the league tries to dim her light, the brighter she burns. Because Caitlin Clark isn't here to fit into the WNBA system. She's here to remake it entirely. So while Kelsey Plum is out here holding microphones like they're weapons, Caitlin Clark is rewriting the rulebook with every silent flex, every subtle post, every smirk in the face of chaos. The fans see it, the media sees it, the brands see it, and whether the league admits it or not, the money sees it too. And in a league where profit has been a fantasy for nearly 3 decades, that kind of power isn't just rare, it's priceless. So when you take a shot at Caitlin Clark, you better not miss, because she doesn't even have to fire back. The whole world does it for her. And now, the narrative has flipped entirely. What started as Kelsey Plum trying to paint Caitlyn as selfish has ended with Plum looking bitter, isolated, and out of touch. The backlash hasn't cooled. It's growing. The fans aren't forgetting. They're documenting every move, every comment, every shade, because the world's watching now. And the question isn't whether Caitlin Clark belongs. The question is whether the WNBA can grow fast enough to keep up with her. Because like it or not, she's a future. And you can either stand beside her or get left behind.